Oh gosh, I'm so happy to be here tonight and host this event and with our a team, that we put together, and it's just one of the highlights of the year. The group that we were hosting tonight, we saw at the Museum Santa Rosa in February, and they had a great show. I mean, it was a really spectacular event and so forth, but I really dialed in on the poetry of these people, and I was super moved, and it took us 3 months or so to put it together to invite them here. So that's some of the background of how we got here. This is the celebrated African American poets and writers of Sonoma County. I also want to thank my son, Casey Williams, for hosting the Poetry Salon and for carrying the dream forward, creating a comfortable place for poets, writers, and musicians. Casey Williams. I'd like to thank Doug Jane. He's not here, but he's a lot of reason why we are here. He brought, for 3 years now, we've been teaming up with Jack Crimmins and bringing poets into KRCB and reading poetry for Doug at various times in the month of April. So it's kind of a springboard for poetry in general, is that we're getting it on the air. So they're hearing, the Doors, and they're hearing poetry, and it's quite an interesting concept I've been chasing for about 30 years or so. Sarah will testify to that one, and it's kind of finally happened in Sonoma County. I'm really just thrilled with that. So that's Doug Jane and KRCB. I just want to say these names of these people. There's something very inspiring in a name. And Ngame Gray, Dr. Andrea Hall, Morris Abashé Turner, Joanna Wheeldin, and Enid Pickett. They're quite a power pack. And I want to bring you, right away, I want to bring Ngame Gray up to open us up. She'll open the space.
Good afternoon. How's everybody this afternoon? The poems that I chose tonight are both personal, but yet cultural, right? There's everything to be said about culture, and just like Tim was speaking on, names are important as well. So the first piece I'd like to go into is called An Ode to Loneliness. I've been fighting so long. My prayers, they sound like war cries now, and every amen feels like a weapon I barely know how to swing, and still I swing. One battle after another, storms stacking like unpaid bills, grief collecting like interest I never agreed to, and every time I think I can rest, life whispers, not yet. And I'm back in the ring, bare-knuckled against shadows that know my name. I've learned silence can be a scream louder than any siren. It echoes in my bones in those lonely nights that my heart won't stop aching, shaking from the pain. People say, you're gonna be all right. You got this. But they never seen a part where the strength looks like curling up in the corner of your own faith, whispering to God through tears, please don't let me break again. There's a kind of loneliness that doesn't just ache, it hurts. It waits for you in the middle of your chest. It's hollow and somewhat beyond this life. it's very silent. Ergo, much louder than one would think. It waits, lurking, until you start to believe that peace must live somewhere else beyond this life. Then it starts whispering sweet invitations to the nothingness, convincing you that silence might be safer than hope. And rest assured, it tries to convince you. I've stood at the edge, staring into the quiet, wondering if the pain is finally going to stop, and if just I let it go. But then Emmanuel and Yeshua, they all cried out in one voice, not too loud, not with a thunder or fire, just in a small voice, stay, I'm still here. And somehow, that was enough to pull me back. See, trauma has a way of making your soul forget its song. It teaches you to hold your breath in rooms that used to feel safe. It makes you build up walls from the ashes, then wonder why the light can't get in. But Creator, he meets me in the rubble and doesn't flinch at the mess, doesn't roll with the punches. He rolls up his sleeves, places his hand on my trembling chest, and says, breathe, child, you're still mine. And through the silence that tastes like salt and survival, I breathe. 'Cause even when my faith feels like it's bleeding and it's still alive, even when I'm crawling through the night so dark my tears can't find the floor, he's there. I'm there. The steady pulse of my panic where whispers in the air are saying, you are not forsaken. And maybe that's what victory really looks like. Not the roar, not the whisper that still believes, not the absence of a battle, but the presence of a spirit in the midst of it. So if you see me standing, just know it wasn't strength. It wasn't surrender. It was grace. And every scar I wear is proof that I am not fighting this alone. Because I've learned sometimes Creator doesn't remove the storm. He just teaches you how to walk on the water through it. And I'm still walking. I am still breathing. I am still believing. And I am still here. The last one standing, but never alone. So the second one I'm about to read has to do with my becoming. It took a long time for me to get to this place in my life and figure out who I was, what it was, and how it's going to be. Where my power comes from, where my influences come from, where my whole entire existence has brought me into in this moment. This one's entitled, I Am the Diaspora. We are the seed in the soil on the earth, first people created to permeate for greatness. I'm the echo of the drums carved in the Congo wood, baptized in Mississippi mud, a bridge between continents and contradictions. I am not from one land, but from a scattered stars of many skies. You see me and say American, but my soul rhythms are never bowed to borders. My skin is a patchwork of ancestry. My tongue is a multiverse of stolen dialects and survival slang. They stole us, ripped roots from red soil, dragged kingdoms across the Atlantic storms, and tried to turn gods into property, royalty into cargo. But we don't disappear, we transform. From the cotton fields to the corner steps, from the hush harbors of Harvard halls and the carved blackness into brilliance, we built this country, and the hands still bleeding from the whips of its blueprint. But just not here, not just North America's song. In Brazil, we live in the samba and in the soil, in the faveletas, in the fire, in the combres, the prayers whispered with the names of orishas, still dancing despite the chains. In Colombia, we are the beat behind merengue and marimba. We are the silent spine of the Pacific coast, black skin and Cartagena. We are the world that tries to paint over with tourist gloss. In Cuba, we are the cave. We are the revolution and rhythm of the soul in Santeria. We are the drum that never forgot how to sound of home. In Puerto Rico, we wear Taíno and Yoruba in our veins. Boricuan hearts, fighting for names, for breath, for being in a colonized tongue. In Europe, we live in the shadows of castles that grew rich out of blood. In France, we speak Creole and courage. In London, we bring wind-rush wisdom into the underground. In Portugal, our story buried under the cobblestone guilt. We are here, but we rise anyway, still glowing, still black. In Asia, we are samurai, still brilliant, and they can't gentrify. So don't forget us. We are the Afro-Latin, the Afro-Caribbean, the Afro-European, the Afro-Indigenous, the Afro-Asian. We are afros and dreadlocks. We are textures of hair that make you think about who you really are. We are the diaspora in motion, each of us, sacred return to home, stolen yet carried in our spirit. I am because we are. The last one is about both culture and name. It talks about how a name is very important. And just because somebody was one name before and another name again doesn't mean that they just woke up one day and be like, I'm just going to decide to be so-and-so. Renaming yourself is a part of self-determination, which is practiced in the holiday of Kwanzaa. We practice self-determination and what names us and how we got here. Sorry. Sometimes, technology doesn't want to work with her. Give me 1 second. Here we go. Oh, wait, here we are. I am Ngame, pronounced Ing-Gam-Me. The ancestors named me Ngame, birthed from dreams of the goddess that sent messages I unfolded and was molded into existence. They write poems, and all while my blackness is political, they write poems with tongues too tired to wrap their name around, as if Ngame is too much to handle, it's too much labor to say. For the mouth that recites Neruda with ease, as if my syllables are a disruption. A disruption. Instead of a drum beat. And when I ask them to try, they sigh, call it difficult, or that's interesting. As if my name owes them comfort, as if the flow of a poem should not be disturbed by the fullness of me. From the breath of my lungs to the spelling of my name, from how I enter a room to how I leave it without breaking, my skin still walks in. Before my words do, my voice gets questioned before it gets heard. And even in silence, They already judged my presence as a protest. See, they told me, make it easier, make it lighter, make it quieter. So I swallowed my roots and let them rename me Christy. And most polite, plottable, please don't be afraid of me name. Christy, the name that they could say without trying, the name that tucked in my fire, folded up my rhythm, and prayed it in English when my ancestors spoke through drums, through the bloodlines of Togo and Dusk, and the deep beneath of becoming. But I woke up, I rose up, I took it back. Ngame, say it, Ngame. Ngame. Put some respect and syllables on my naming mothers gave me, on the sounds of my ancestors died trying to preserve, on the vibration that it carries, both war and worship. The history in my locks, locked into spiritual alchemy and soul. So now when they say it wrong, I politely correct them with a smile, not because I'm angry, but just because I remember, because the name is not a suggestion, it is a declaration. I am here. Still, I carry both, Christy and Ngame, the colonized and the cosmic, the woman that trained me to be and the woman that I was born from the stars to become. That tension, that duality, is that political too? Because being black means being fluent in survival, and sovereignty means honoring every name that helped me make it through the world. What is political about being black? Everything. I don't choose the battlefield, it chose me, but I walk into it anyway, draped in the ancestors' armor and hope, walking towards freedom that doesn't need permission. So yes, I guess my black is political. My smile is coded resistance, my hair is unapologetically history. My joy is unregulated uprising. My name is a revolution in symbols. So when you ask me what my name is, I am Ngame.
My journey to metaphysics. My name is Dr. Andrea Hall. I am a local artist, born and raised right here in Sonoma County. My father was the founder and pastor of Fulton Pentecostal Church of God in Christ. As the last born of 12 children, I grew up in a very loving family and church community. I was surrounded by music, prayer, scripture, and a deep belief in God. Among many spiritual principles, I was taught to love God and to fear the devil. Unfortunately, in my young brain, the fear took the strongest hold. For years, I carried that fear quietly. I loved God deeply, but I also wrestled with anxiety about whether I was good enough, safe enough, faithful enough. I didn't have language for it then, but what I was really searching for was a love that felt secure. A love that didn't threaten punishment. A love that didn't require fear to keep me in line. That search shaped my life. It shaped my studies. It shaped my spiritual journey. And eventually, it shaped my writing. As an adult, I was introduced to metaphysics, more specifically, metaphysical Christianity. My metaphysical love story series was born out of that inner wrestling and spiritual awakening. They are fiction, but they are deeply personal. These stories follow resilient women as they navigate love, faith, identity, and self-discovery. They wrestle with inherited beliefs. They question what they've been taught. They face heartbreak, fear, doubt, and ultimately, a love of God that replaces a fear of God. A love that restores rather than condemns. A love that empowers rather than controls. As a Black woman raised in the church, I honor the legacy of faith in our community. The church has been a place of strength, organizing, resistance, music, culture, and survival for us. But I also believe that part of our evolution as artists is telling the full story, including the parts where we had to unlearn fear in order to embrace love more fully. My work explores what happens when a woman realizes she's not broken, when she discovers that she was never separated from God, when she learns that divine love is not something to earn, but something to awaken to. That shift changes everything. It changes how she loves. It changes how she sees herself. It changes how she shows up in the world. And that is what I write about. First in fiction, through my metaphysical love stories, and now in the form of self-help books that guide women step by step into that same awakening. As a nurse, a minister, a coach, and an author, my life's work centers around helping women, especially women in the second half of life, to reconnect with their inner wisdom, their power, and their peace. Because when a woman is no longer afraid, she becomes creative. She becomes compassionate. She becomes unstoppable. Black History Month is about honoring those who came before us, but it is also about celebrating who we are becoming. My ancestors survived. My parents built. And I get to create. That is an honor. Thank you for celebrating local Black artists. Thank you for celebrating Black voices. And thank you for allowing me to share a love story, not just on the page, but in my life. My metaphysical love stories are here today. I'd love to share with you. Thank you.
What's in the name? As Ngame was saying earlier. My middle name, Abashé, was inspired by my wife, Phyllis, and it's Kenyan for one who celebrates children. And anybody who knows me knows that's very true. An example is my dear neighbors right here, Della and Dwayne. Their children are very special to me, and I've known them since they were little guys. Now their daughter is a woman. I can't believe it. And my youngest son, his name was going to be Benjamin Alexander. I thought that was a very smooth, rhythmic name, positive, and my wife's family got used to it before the baby was even born. That's what his name was going to be. But then he was born, and I was laying in bed, I was tossing and turning. I was like, oh man, your name is your whole life. You got to have that every day. And I said, he has to have a name with meaning. So I had a book of African names. So my son, instead of Benjamin Alexander, it is Kwasi Ahmed, which means boy born on Sunday and worthy of praise. And he was born on Sunday and my birthday. So, what's in the name? Ngame. Who remembers their very first job? Your very first job, the one where you paid taxes. This is the story of my very first job, and the title's inspired by my father. Just keep on living, you'll see a lot of things. I was 15 years old and the school year had just ended. Summer vacation was about to begin, or so I thought. My father, however, had other plans. You better get a good night's sleep. I'll be getting you up early in the morning to take you to work. The next morning, I was welcomed into the new day by the distinct aroma of fresh brewing Folgers coffee and the pungent odor of my father's Lucky Strike cigarette. Half awake and still totally dark outside, I staggered toward the bathroom, then to the kitchen, where I launched into a quick bowl of Wheaties, my favorite cereal. As I made my way out into the cold, dark air, the Sacramento Tule fog covering the ground and rising just above my eye level, was beginning to lift. I snuggled into the car and began to thaw, thanks to the desert-like heater in our 1957 Nomad station wagon. My eyes were fully open now, and thanks to my father, my mind too. As we drove along, he told me that later in life I would hopefully be going to college. But today, I'd be getting an education. As we crossed a large parking lot, the silhouette of trucks and slowly moving adult bodies gradually came into focus. My father lifted me up into the rear of one of the open-air trucks and whispered, "Just do what the men do, and I'll be back to pick you up at 3 o'clock. Then he disappeared into the morning, headed to one of his 2 full-time jobs. Despite my feelings of insecurity, I timidly panned the faces of the men sitting around me and quickly became aware that I was the only boy among 20 or so men, none of whom spoke English. Sitting on weathered wooden benches, our bodies bounced and shifted side to side for the next 30 minutes or so, as the crisp morning air whipping at us like a pesky mosquito forced everyone to huddle together. As the sun began to show itself, the odor of the men's bodies, marinating with the sweat of the previous day's labor, became more prominent. The truck, turning into a desolate dirt lane, revealed tomatoes sparkling ruby red in all directions. As we came to an abrupt stop, dust and the smell of diesel fuel filled the air as men began climbing down from the back of the truck. One lifted me up on my armpits and gently lowered me to the ground. It was the first of many encounters where I would be assisted and encouraged by the men that summer. As my father had instructed, I followed the men as they lined up, were each given a number. My number was 20, and a piece of chalk, and led into the field by the jefe or boss. Doing my best to keep my balance while navigating jagged dirt clods, more rock-like than dirt, a truck piled high with wooden lug boxes teetering rumbled into the field. The men on top, known as swampers, called out in Spanish, "Cuantos cajas?" I didn't understand, but knew it was important because all the men were responding. "Diez, catorce, veinte." One of the swampers, realizing I was like a deer caught in the headlights, asked me in English, "How many boxes do you want?" Not really sure, I just said 8. And he quickly echoed, "Ocho." And my understanding of the Spanish language was underway. From that point, whenever the truck came through the field, and I heard, "Cuantos cajas?" I would proudly respond in as strong and confident a voice as I could muster, "Ocho." The men methodically laid boxes end to end between the rows of tomatoes, carefully calculating how long it would take to fill each box and allowing the appropriate distance between them. I mirrored their steps. As each box was filled, they hoisted it onto a shoulder and ran to where the boxes would be stacked and tagged with their identifying number. Piecework, that's how we were paid, 25 cents a box. As the blue, cloudless skies of early morning were exchanged for the blazing, unforgiving midday sun, the reality of stoop labor began to engulf me. Cramping, chlorophyll-covered hands, aching back, burning eyes, and sweat-drenched clothing were no longer a distraction and instead morphed into my new reality. Very hard work. Some of the men, noticing that I was beginning to drag a bit, began waving their arms and calling out commands like, "Vámonos, vámonos, huévete, huévete, let's go, let's go," in such encouraging and uplifting tones that it forced me to look beyond my pain and discomfort and realize surrender was not an option. Days turned into weeks, and soon I found myself riding the survival-inspired momentum of the men around me. Semi-ripe tomatoes hitting the bottom of lug boxes began to sound like music throughout the field. The work was becoming routine, and I was gradually earning respect among the men. But a change was on the horizon. It was a Thursday. I clearly remember because the following day would be payday, and I was spending money in my mind that hadn't been fully earned yet. An ominous midday breeze swept over the field. For a brief second, it seemed like a fantasy, until a tornado-like dust cloud exposed a yellow helicopter, blades whipping through the air like machetes through sugarcane, followed by an imposing green bus, appearing as if from thin air. Men began running in all directions, and I was introduced to a new feeling, terror. And a new phrase was added to my Spanish vocabulary, la migra. I heard it repeated over and over by the out-of-breath men. Tripping on uneven ground and finding themselves entangled in the unforgiving vines of tomato plants, there was no pathway to freedom. Seemingly from another planet, beings costumed in khaki green jumpsuits, shiny black boots, and military-looking weapons snarled with animated faces as they handcuffed and dragged some of the men to the bus, then departing as quickly as they had descended. For the rest of the summer, there was no more joking among the men in the fields. No encouraging gestures toward me. A deep sense of gloom covered us all. When my father came to pick me up at the end of the day, and I told him what had happened, he looked deep into my eyes, and he said, "Son, just keep on living. You'll see a lot of things." Thank you.
This is called Language Clothes Me, an essay on freedom. I was born into this country because I am from its history. I belong to this country and I further its history. My mixedness, Black and European, is an American normalcy. Yet English negates this. Our language distinguishes Blackness from Americanness. What are you mixed with what? What percentage does that make you? I've been asked these things. I free myself from fractions so as not to slap the brilliantly complex scientific reality of genetics in the face, correlating the cultural validity of Blackness with a skin tone spectrum is frustratingly superficial. Culturally speaking, in the racial sense, I belong to Blackness, whiteness, and mixedness. Because of this, I am specifically American. America unspools its misogynistic, racist, and homophobic thread for the 250th revolution with a brazen audacity under the Trump administration. The wicked myths about Black people, about queerness, and about women are tailored with brutal infliction. To be called a cunt, for example, implies feminine weakness and is considered highly offensive in our culture. Cunt, used in queer slang, asserts the immaculate power of the feminine body and describes excellence. How we speak is a fundamental dimension of freedom. None of us are free until all of us are free, and to free others, I must free myself. I love myself radically as a form of activism. Refashioning hate into self-love is an active process of deconstructing our linguistic textile and transforming it into a tailored ensemble. I respect myself by searching for language which clothes me better, not just in the racial sense, but across all of my identities. There's no right first thread to pull to unravel the great big mess of America and free myself from the society which I actively reject. The problem with rejection of the world one is born into is what to do with all the thread when it's longer and older than any one person can conceive of, let alone unravel. America's history, which is also to say its present, supplies the texture of my clothes, clothes which constrict me and connect me to the kinds of freedom I vie to adorn. Rejection of the language that I speak and the society that I'm a part of is an ironic pursuit. I'm motivated to reject the world I was born into because of its pervasive violence. I use this word broadly, speaking on an interpersonal and structural scale. In its own hue and in every swath of oppression, language is a mechanism of violence. Like fabric is a two-dimensional plane that is manipulated to fit a curved form, written language is a two-dimensional construct that shapes our multi-dimensional experiences as people. In this way, language clothes me. Violence within language is as easy to underestimate as a uniform is inconspicuous. Have you ever considered the words we're using when we say we're hitting on someone? Our language around sex, banging, screwing, pounding, it's terribly violent. I bring this up because language has been used to shame our bodies. I believe the first time I was called a bitch, I was just 11. Harmful language is assigned to me because of who I am and what I look like all the time. I call myself an entrepreneur, but I'm dressed as a businesswoman. And recently I was told by a businessman that as a businesswoman, I'm going to have a harder time than men whether I like it or not, and I don't know why I would like it at all. Every harmful word or physical attack on my person I've ever received is folded up and kept in my closet, but I'm taking them out to show you because you can recognize the cloth these forceful garments are cut from. I've felt anger and I've felt shame because of my personal experiences of linguistic and sexual violence. I've yanked on and thrashed at this American thread for constituting such a violent country to begin with, and a country that I belong to, whether I like it or not. I've piled this American thread into heaps now. I've pulled it, rejected it, stored it, and screamed at it too. But I can't walk away from it because it plays cat's cradles with my ankles, you see. I must create my own freedom because people like me, we've spilled our feminine, gay, black blood on this American thread since our country's invention. And further, we were barred from weaving for ourselves for generations. Disentanglement and refashioning are thus also spiritually dutiful acts. It's a heavy cloth to be cut from to be an American, yet it's mine, and I belong to it. So what kind of choice am I left with then? I make a choice not to fasten any more hate in this country, but instead to explore curiosity. And with curiosity, I design my freedom as my own textile, adding and subtracting language to myself as is fitting. So no, I won't erase my presence in the word mankind, and I'll ask you all too to use the word humankind. I won't quantify blackness as some sort of jersey number, just as my sexuality isn't a two-tone jumpsuit of half gay, half straight. And sure, I could rummage through the closet to find all sorts of costumes like entrepreneur and bitch and philosopher and sweetheart and sculptor and writer and so on, because my wardrobe is endless. Any singularity of freedom is impossible. But nobody wears one uniform forever or dons all of their clothes at once. So I do know one thing. I'd rather be naked and misunderstood than clothed in conformity. Loving myself as I am is a radical endeavor that involves both scrutiny and curiosity. Freedom is a process of learning and unlearning. I choose to sow love into the ever-expanding tapestry of my humanity, so I'll knot the thread here with this. My freedom, like the creation of clothing, is a multi-dimensional process. My freedom is an ongoing activity of examining how our linguistic plane curves around the form of my self-conception as a human being. My freedom is a curious invention, an additive, expansive act of discovery and creation at the same time. I wear my freedom around me now, stitched with the American thread of all those who have been oppressed and freed in the name of our American country. I further my freedom and my belonging. I adorn myself always in the fleeting fiber of the present moment. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. How you doing? Well, you look good. I hope you feel good, too. This is quite a collection of words tonight. Wouldn't you agree? And I'm very proud to be a part of it in so many different ways. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for being here. Also, thank you to the Barrel Proof Lounge. Thank you to Tim. Thank you for you, because poetry is an act of resistance in intelligentsia. So you're resisting scrolling on your phone, you're resisting watching whatever's on the next episode of blank, blank, blank. You're resisting the bullshit that's on the news. You're here in a truth space where truth is celebrated, truth is alive, and freedom is real, y'all, because we express it through our words. Today is Miles Davis's birthday. He would have been 100 years old. And he's being celebrated for tonight and the whole year. So I'd like to honor him with a poem, which is called Inside, It Is Always Raining, Raining Miles. You can go to any jazz club, any jazz cabaret, any jazz class on the planet. Any era, anywhere, anytime, yesterday to tomorrow, especially round about midnight. You can open your jazz GPS. You all have one, right? To the north, south, east, or west. You can travel to any continent. Slowly stroll down Green Dolphin Street any daytime or any night. You can arrive as early as daybreak dawn or as late as timeless tomorrow. Imagine walking into a 5-star posh palace, or never to be caught in some down and dangerous dive. No matter what the weather is outside, inside, it is always raining, raining miles. Before you hear the first note, you hear the first note. Before Kismet kisses you on your forehead, you exhale, and suddenly, in a silent way, you are slow dancing with deja vu to 7 steps to heaven. Miles smiles. And you are seen, you are held, you are known, you are home. You are loved, my funny little Valentine. Inside, it is always, always raining, raining miles. His band, y'all know his band, right? His band is as tight as the sexy sharkskin suits, adorned with snakeskin ties, you know the little ties that are made out of silk. Fashion icons secretly smile with envy whenever Miles falls from the sky. Imagine flying at midnight with birds of paradise. His band eats perfection puffs for breakfast. You can be sure that every single jazz joint serves spicy chicken fried chicken sandwiches, right, Realis? With red hot jungle jazz juice. I don't know if you've ever had jungle jazz juice, but it's delicious. And an Afro blue ice cold drinks. His trumpets shine and sparkle and shine and sparkle because he shines them from cosmic stardust and African shea butter. Mr. Miles Dewey Davis III, born 100 years ago, born 100 years and 100 miles ahead of his time. Trauma-troubled genius addicted to pure jazz. Some say his half-brother is Archangel Gabriel. Some say he taught him how to play those heavenly, heavenly horns. Blood brothers, bonding and being and believing and becoming and being free. But don't forget, every single Saturday, solitude sadly, slowly strolls in after sunset. Every time Miles feels kind of blue, she sits down, pours herself a goblet glass of bitch's brew. Shh. Not a word is spoken. Not a sigh, not a whisper, not a sound. One tiny, timeless, tender tear tells her story. So what, you say? She's his funny little lamenting Valentine with heart-shaped blue-green milestones adorning her empty heart, silently singing, "Someday my prince will come." No matter what the weather is outside, inside, it's always, always, always raining miles. Thank you. Thank you. I was just answering this text, but I was debating sitting here, but I probably will not. I don't want to block it out. So I think I will find another seat.
This next set is dedicated to a dear friend of mine. His name is Mafame. And Mafame has had a really complicated and hard life, but it doesn't matter what happens, he always perseveres. He's in a place in his life where he's more open to the softness and the gentleness of his adversities. And, you know, we've had a complicated relationship. I mean, one day he's on and one day he's off, but through the thick of it, we have always persevered through our friendship, and these particular pieces made me think about his growth that I've seen over the years. So, this first piece is called Cast Iron Faithfulness. The grid is loud tonight, Black, beneath the neon hum and the crackle of the low frequency static, and the whispers find their rhythm. They gather at the blind spots of the intersection, right here where the artificial light fades. Here is an expansion of the transition from the cold defense of the iron to the vulnerability of the rain, the whispers of the grid. They whisper in your name in the dark. The shadows are on the corner of the grid, smooth talking to simple ones, luring them in like cattle to the blade. And Proverbs 7 on the night air, the warning of a strange woman, Proverbs 7 warns against the deadly path where flattery and darkness seal our doom for those who let their guards and boundaries fail. And those ones are led like oxen to the slaughter room. Her house is the very flank of hell, her steps sinking deep into the clay. They sell an easy peace built on synthetic promises, offering anesthesia for the hollow-out soul, peddling ghosts wrapped in velvet and vice. I watched them reel the wanderers in, tracking the footprints that step short of the light, wondering how many casualties it takes to turn a neighborhood into a graveyard. The cast iron defense, my own chest held a heavy thing. The cast iron heart forged in old grievances, brittle, black, and cold, clanging against the ribs with a bitter weight. You were built to survive the block. Every betrayal was another layer of soot. Every letdown, the strike of the hammer on the anvil. It was the armor disguised as an organ, impenetrable, unyielding, and utterly dead. You thought if you made yourself heavy enough, the currents of the piece could never drag you under. But weight? Nah. Weight is not the same as an anchor. And the heart of an iron only knows how to sink. But iron cannot withstand the quiet rain. When Creator poured the love, turned faithfulness into steady stream, and the rigid metal began to soften, rusting away into nothing but grace It wasn't the thunderstorm. It wasn't a violent break. It was the patient, relentless drip of truth against the surface that swore it would never yield. You didn't smash the cage. You just let the moisture sit until the pride began to flake and the stubborn, jagged edges turned to dust and the armor dissolved, leaving only flesh alive and clean faithfulness gleaming in the full light. And now the chest breathes easy again, and the grid still hums, and the shadows still plot, but the iron is gone. Black men, and for the first time in a long time, the rain feels good. This one is called Home. He walks through the world like shoes on his name, and he doesn't even deserve to be spoken whole, spits him out in pieces and calls it survival. They weigh his skin like the evidence, measured his voice like it's a threat, break his spirit in public and call it policy. He carries that weight on his back, in his chest, in the quiet places no one checks for bruises. But baby, when he reaches my door, he don't knock. He can't knock because I already told him, this ain't a place you visit, this is a place you belong. And he ain't got no keys, not of metal nor silver, not of something that jingles in his pocket. No, he got keys in the way that he loves me, in the way he chooses me even when the world don't choose him. And me, I am the lock and the welcome and the threshold and the prayer. I am home. A black woman, this wall's not built from brick but grace that don't crack under pressure. I am a sanctuary where his name ain't questioned. His walk ain't police. His breath ain't monitored. Inside this space, he can exhale. Not that shallow, cautious breath he's been practicing outside, no. Oh no, baby, I'm talking about that deep soul-shaking inhale that says, I am made, I've made it back alive. I hold him like the world never dropped him. Speak to him like he never was silenced. Pray over him like heaven is listening closer when your voice calls his name. And when the world tries to follow him in, tries to sneak past his peace, tries to sit at his side of the table uninvited, I reminded, nothing enters here that wasn't built on love. Because home isn't just a place, it's a protection. It's an intention. It is what they have made together. It is sacred enough to defend. So he lays his burdens at my feet, not as a weakness, but as a man who finally found somewhere strong enough to hold him. And I don't break under it, I rise. I become the quiet that heals his loudest battles, the stillness that teaches his chaos how to rest. And as long as he loves me, not halfway, and not sometimes, not when it's easy, but fully, intentionally. Like a man who knows what he's protecting, he will never be homeless again because I am the door, the key, the prayer on the hinge, and the safety in the storm. I am home.
This piece I'm reading is an actual excerpt from one of my metaphysical love stories. So I wrote a series of 3, a trilogy, called the Metaphysical Love Stories. They are fiction, but as I said before, they are also deeply personal. This particular book, book 1, reading from chapter 10, in it you will hear Ayanla speaking to my protagonist, Aisha. Ayanla is her identical twin sister who passed from the physical when they were 13 years old. But she continues to be a heavenly being, confidant, spiritual advisor to Aisha. So that's her voice, because you would wonder, who's Ayanla when I start reading? This excerpt, God in Me, Book 1, Chapter 10. Our morning goodbye was so polite, I could hardly stand it. I didn't like cooking and would rather have gone out for breakfast, but I offered to fix him something to eat because I thought I should. Almost as if he sensed my insincerity, Joseph laughed and told me he needed to get going. He gave me the nicest hug, then kissed me on the forehead and each cheek. I turned my head and rolled my eyes while facing away from him. Ayanla teased, "Hey," he advanced from a kiss on the forehead to include a kiss on each cheek. "Thank you for inviting me to stay. I had a great time. It's good to reconnect with you." The lack of a real kiss annoyed and slightly angered me. I wondered if he was romantically interested in me at all. "My pleasure. I'll see you at the hospital." He looked a little confused too. "Good," Ayanla said. "Let him wonder." "What did I do wrong? I don't think he likes me." "He does. He's just taking it slowly." I hated feeling like he didn't like me the way I liked him. The old feelings of not being good enough, not being worthy of his affection, crept up. I had to nip the feelings I had for him in the bud before I got hurt. I knew it was probably too late, but I decided that I couldn't let him know how much I liked him. 3 months passed before I invited him to spend the night again. It rained hard all day, and the wind whipped trees around the hospital windows. I asked him if he wanted to stay and wait out the storm. "Traffic's going to be horrible with the rain and the wind. There will probably be accidents. Do you want to stay until the storm passes or sleep over tonight? This place needs you alive." "Thanks for the offer. I'm going to take you up on it." "You already packed, huh? Did you know I was going to invite you to stay?" "No, I was going to stay in a hotel. I heard about the storm warnings for this weekend. I like the idea of spending the night with you much better." We'd grown closer over the months, chatting at work, taking lunch breaks together, sending instant messages over the phone, and jogging or running at a nearby park after work when time allowed. We were comfortable with each other. Ayanla was right. He did like me. I don't know that he loved me, but I was sure he liked me. I loved him tremendously. It was still raining hard at the end of my shift. Since I had no interest in cooking and didn't like being out in stormy weather, I offered to pick up dinner. "Chinese or African food?" "Let's do something different tonight." "What kind of African food are you talking about?" "Ethiopian?" I fought the twinge of mixed reminiscence about enjoying Ethiopian food with Sigai. Oddly, sometimes I missed him. It passed quickly when I heard Joseph's answer. "Absolutely. Get whatever you like. Please get some shrimp tibs if they have it. I should be done around 5. Later, we sat at my gold-framed smoked glass dining room table in front of an Ethiopian spread of fermented flatbread, injera, spicy chicken dishes, doro tibs, doro watts, salad, and shrimp tibs. Joseph watched appreciatively as I wrapped the injera around a chunk of chicken and a piece of boiled egg, then plunged the hefty morsel into my mouth. "I like watching you eat, Aisha, because you enjoy eating. I've been around women who talk about their carbs, calories, points, or whatever throughout the whole meal. Some of them even take out their phones and enter their intake before the meal is finished." He groaned. "Don't be fooled. I am mentally calculating how long I'm going to have to run to burn off this meal and the plum wine we're drinking right now." "Well, whatever you're doing to maintain that amazing body of yours, you're doing it right." "Thank you. Genetics and a passion for running are on my side." He locked his eyes into mine. "You are beautiful, inside and out. You know that?" Suddenly I felt shy, but masked it with a show of bravado. "Thanks again. I look just like my mother, so I can't take credit for it. As for being beautiful on the inside, it's God in me." He laughed, obviously amused. "I'd really like to talk more about God and you this evening, if you don't mind, after we finish eating. Can we do that?" "Absolutely. God is my favorite subject." "Want me to build you a fire?" I asked after we finished eating and washing the dishes. "No, I don't want you to have to do all that." "It's easy," I said, flicking the switch on my electric fireplace. "Do you like India Arie?" "No doubt." I told Alexa to play a mix of India Arie songs, then settled onto the couch with Joseph. Good to see you. I snuggled comfortably into his arms and kissed him on the lips. I meant for it to be a short kiss, but he pulled me into a deep, lingering, sensuous, tongue-caressing experience, all the while stroking every part of my body his long arms could reach. It was divine and perfect. As a moan escaped from my soul, he whispered, "Before we go any further, let's talk about God and you." Although God truly was one of my favorite subjects, the timing felt awkward. Still, when Joseph continued, I realized why now was the right time for him to ask. "I knew you were an amazing NICU nurse." NICU stands for newborn ICU. "But I didn't know you were so religious. The other day, I was telling one of the nurses I doubted that the baby she was taking for was going to make it. So I was going to bring the parents in to talk to them about the prognosis and their options. The nurse told me I should get you to talk with the parents after I did. She said they might want you to baptize their baby. If they didn't have their own chaplain or priest, they wanted to call in." I nodded, wondering where he was going with that. "So, just how religious are you?" I shrugged. "I'm not religious at all. To me, a religious person is someone who follows a set of rules and rituals laid out by others. A religious person is expected to follow the organization's rules, whether they believe in them or understand them or not, and whether they want to follow those rules and rituals or not. I could never do that. I am spiritual, though, and I am serious about my relationship with the Holy Spirit. When I refer to God in me, I'm also acknowledging that God is in you and every living being, because God is the essence of life itself. Omnipresent, everywhere, evenly present. There is no place God is not." I paused, wondering whether I made sense to Joseph or if I sounded like some kind of fanatic. He waited, showing genuine interest, so I continued. "Metaphorically, I think of God as the ocean, and us as drops of ocean water. A drop of ocean water contains all the properties of the ocean, yet it is not the ocean in its entirety. Likewise, human beings, as direct emanations of God, contain all the properties of God, yet we are not God in entirety. Like Jesus said, I and my Father are one, yet my Father is greater than I." Joseph drew closer, his head tilted to the side, waiting to hear more. "I also acknowledge God as love, peace, joy, happiness, and every good thing. God is good itself. God is omniscient, all-knowing. God is omnipotent, all-powerful. Because God is all-powerful, there could be no opposing power of evil, which is only what we see when we take our eyes off God. Being love, God is the most powerful source in the universe. God is all in all." I leaned in and slowly licked Joseph's slightly open mouth, kissed him appreciatively, then whispered, "God is yummy, and God is delicious. I taste the deliciousness of God in you." A quiet moan escaped from his throat. "You make God sound sexy." "Does God allow you to have sex?" "He gives us free will to choose how we live. Christ came so we can enjoy life and have it more abundantly and enjoy it to the fullest. I have no intention of letting Christ's coming be in vain." Isn't that blasphemy, young lady? No. Blasphemy is when we say something about God that isn't true. I'm saying God is good all the time, and all the time, God is good. To say anything to the contrary would be blasphemy. Is that a yes? Then we can make love finally? Won't you get in trouble with God? I told you I am spiritual, not religious. I have my own relationship with God. Nobody else gets to dictate to me what is supposed to be. God and me, we're good regardless. I don't follow rules I don't believe in. I believe in enjoying this life God gave me, and I intend to enjoy it with you. I kissed him again, sliding my tongue into his waiting mouth, basking in the delightful God-given gift that was Joseph Moret. His body responded voluntarily and involuntarily, bringing me to heights of ecstasy with his moans, groans, gasps, and writhing from passionate kissing alone. We were just getting started. Before the night was over, we shed our clothing and he slid on a condom. It was a wonderful night of connecting, reminiscing, joking, laughing, sharing, caring, and magical lovemaking. We were in the dawn of our relationship, a new beginning. I wasn't worried about a thing. I trusted God and I trusted Joseph Moret. India Arie sang in the background of our love manifestation. I am not the color of my eyes. I am not the skin on the outside. I am not my age. I am not my race. My soul inside is all light. All light. All light. Yes, all light. I am divinity defined. I am the God on the inside. I am a star, a piece of it all. I am light. After that night, we continued to see each other regularly, calling and texting throughout the day when we weren't together, connecting on every aspect of life. We met for lunch in the hospital cafeteria or outside in the courtyard when the weather was nice, as often as our schedules would allow. I loved working with Joseph in the NICU. He was a great doctor, smart, competent, and confident, but not arrogant. He had no problem asking me what I thought about aspects of neonatal care and respected my opinion. We worked together as well as we made love, ran, ate, and laughed together. Thank you.
Very good. This is a very short romantic piece, a poem, I guess you could say, about a very long love affair. In memory of my sweetheart, one of one, like the sweet kiss of an early morning dewdrop on the tender petal of an awakening rose. Love, love, such perfect love. Delicate, challenging, wondrous, never to be replaced by another, at least not for me. If only hearts were interchangeable, the crevice love leaves behind would never see. The jewel-like sparkle in your eyes, the gentle quiver of your lips, the soft caressing touch of your hands. Then make the sun rise and fall again, celebrating our each new day. How blessed a man am I that the universe joined the ancestors in forging our two souls as one. The flutter of butterfly wings, a baby's smile, a soft, warm breeze against my cheek, all constant reminders that yes, one of one, you were for me. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Hi. So I'm delighted to have my scene partner, Danielle, here with me today. Can we get a round of applause because Danielle and I both just graduated from Sonoma State 2 days ago. So this work that we're about to perform is called Oral Ephemera, and I get a lot of questions about the title, so I want to answer what it means right off the bat. And it's a piece that speaks to the ephemeral nature of conversations about freedom. And so even though Danielle's actually the first person I ever performed this piece with, it changes every time it's read or performed or heard. And so I appreciate you all joining us for this ephemeral conversation about what it means to be in the moment, what freedom means, the relationship between freedom and language, and much more. And we won't read the stage directions, just
Okay.
the dialogue.
Okay.
I make sure I get real close.
Oh, start.
All good, all good.
Hate?
Two. Sorry. Thank you, thank you. Go for it.
Hate?
Too easy. I'm interested in seeing how far you can take it.
Love too then, obviously. Obviously. Not time.
Why not? Why not time?
You have less time the more you spend.
In French, we say quel âge as-tu? It means how many years do you have?
Interesting. I'm 22.
When you turn 23, you will have spent 22. The more you spend, the more you have under your belt. So let me ask you this. Do you feel closer to death now than you did yesterday?
I am, whether I feel it or not.
I don't understand the experience of not feeling something. How can you be something you don't feel?
I am what I am and what I'm not.
Ah, and what you are becoming.
Who cares who I become? I don't want to belong to this society. I want to go back.
You don't know the past of which you speak. You only possess the now. So what is it like?
It's always been the same.
But ask yourself, what does the now feel like? Is it the same as it always was?
It is and it's not. The now, it just is what it is. I don't know. It just happens over and over. Don't you ever wish to return to the past?
Return to the past? For what? Let the past be gone. Leave it there. The more time is in the past leaves room for me now, in the now where I am free.
There was a time when all of us were free. Now I have to fight every day.
Fight? You fight for your freedom? How does one do this?
Everything I do, I'm constantly fighting for my freedom.
This is to me like saying you have military intelligence or you are happily married. Freedom, it's something we're doing. When you feel free, you are free from fight.
Freedom. Freedom. The more you spend, the more you have? No, I don't agree. It doesn't quite work. It doesn't translate. How can I spend my freedom?
What a wonderful question.
No, I mean, I can't spend it. Like, I can't concentrate it and physicalize it.
But you do, Rose. What does the now feel like?
As long as I belong to time, I'm subject to it as a forward function toward death. So my freedom is by definition temporary. I'll never get back the life I lived, and I'll never know the life I could have lived. The more time I spend, the more is in the past, and the less time I have to spend again. It's just one long continuous shot till the end. Only so much film.
How can the now feel the same as it did then if you really do have less time? What is the difference of the feeling of the now if death comes tomorrow or in 30 years?
I don't know where the now goes. It's not fleeting because it's always here, but it's certainly changing. I'm losing it every day as it goes by.
You cannot lose the now. It's infinite. There's no difference in the now if the end is in tomorrow or in 30 years.
The more time I spend, the more time I have to do what then? How am I supposed to be free in this world? My bloodline, our bloodline, ripped apart, split open with a speculum, used, shredded, and spat on. My history, our history, gone. And here I am, speaking fucking English. English? What is this English that lives in my mouth? I hate it. I want to taste the language I'm supposed to speak.
I know, child.
The now, it don't belong to me. It's not truly mine. The more I spend, the more I lose. The farther away I get. I want to go back.
Thank you.
A love circle poem for John Coltrane. Before Whyte was supreme. Before Whyte or supreme. Before yesterday, before tomorrow, before yes, before no. There was love. 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 A love supreme. Before 1900 met 26. before destiny discreetly danced with colored church blues harmonizing middle passage moans. A dark-skinned, daring, deferred dream was conceived. One mint green spring equinox night, not that long ago. Imagine lamenting lava stars, shining like black diamonds, whispering melancholy, monumental, musical moments of sacred, bruised brilliancy after the rain. This being of human, scarred with spiritual dirt on his fingers, was named John Coltrane. If you want to see the universe, just look inside his mouth. With kaleidoscopic inner visions inside kaleidoscopes, with kaleidoscopic inner visions inside kaleidoscopes, with sax soulful stirring sounds vibrating intimately into, in, through, inside auras of audibility. Auras of audibility. Pure, infinite freedom. No fear. In a moment's notice, all you feel are physical and spiritual senses all at the same time. Jazz. My one and only love. John Coltrane, surrounded by billions and billions of giant steps. Dizzy, Ornette, Miles, Naima, Blue Train, Pharaoh, McCoy, Elvin, Alice, and Robbie. Coltrane is J-A-Z-Z. Raw, rogue, righteous, revolutionary, reverent, innately intimate, transformations teleporting time, traveling through temples and temples of tones, into something magical, into something sensual, into something supreme. Jazz, my one and only love. My words lie limp, longingly leaving tiny, tarnished tears. My words inadequately shy bite their tongues, sensing melodic muscle memories of your summertime finale. John Coltrane, you said, I know that there are bad forces that bring suffering to others and misery to the world. You said, I want to be the opposite force. I want to be the force which is truly for good. John Coltrane. John Coltrane. The force is clearly with you, and it will always be before Whyte was supreme, before Whyte or supreme, before yesterday, before tomorrow, before yes and no. There was love, y'all. Love. A love supreme. Thank you. Let's give it up for Sarah Baker on piano.
Thank you, everybody. We're going to do a little photo session, invite the artists, the players, musicians to come on up. Let's do some group photo and send them out into the world.